Well, Happy New Year, everybody. It's 6 o'clock and it's Friday, so it's time for Flashcard Friday. I hope you guys all had a wonderful Christmas, and I look forward to getting to spend a few minutes with you tonight. I wanted to cover this particular topic because it's one that just it fascinates me, and it's loosely titled "Meet Them Where They Are," but it's a comparison of two moments in the book of Mark where Jesus heals blind men, but he heals each one of them differently. And as I was researching these two, uh, I started to see applications on multiple levels, and it was just really fascinating. If you ever have the inclination, or if you're ever just in the mood, I would highly encourage you to do a word study with the Greek into how these two are written, because it's just phenomenal. But let's go ahead and let's jump right in. Um, in Mark 8, you have a blind man that Jesus heals. He doesn't have a name, and in Mark 10, he's called Bartimaeus, but he really has no name because Bartimaeus means son of Timaeus. So we really don't even know his name. Um, but one thing I would encourage you is at some point in time take two Bibles and put these stories side by side because they are just fascinating to take a look at. But let's go ahead and read the first one. Excuse me. And this one is in Mark 8. It's verses 22 through 26. They came to Bethsaida, and some people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. He took the blind man by the he took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. When he had spit on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, "Do you see anything?" He looked up and he said, "I see people. They look like trees walking around." Once more, Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened and his sight was restored. He saw everything clearly. Jesus sent him away, saying, "Don't even go into the village." And then if you turn the page, it's literally two chapters later. Um, excuse me, in Mark chapter 10, we're going to read verses 46 through 52. And right off the bat, you're gonna see some differences that are just incredible. And again, we're starting at verse 46. Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, which means son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man. "Cheer up, on your feet, he's calling you." Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked him. The blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "Go," said Jesus, "your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Now the first one, Jesus spits on him. And then in the second one, he just says, "Go, your faith has healed you." And, that's like the first thing that people see, right off the bat. And a lot of people will instantly go into, well, that first guy must have done something wrong. And while there's some arguments there, I think there's a whole bunch of other things that led to what actually happened there. And if you look in that first one, in Mark 8, he tells Jesus, "I see people, they look like trees walking around." How does he know what people look like? How does he know what trees look like? That's an indication right off the bat that at some point in time he's lost his sight. he was able to see, and then whether he was a child or a teenager or an adult, he lost his sight. But with Bartimaeus, when Bartimaeus talks to Jesus, the only thing he says is, I want to see. So that to me is an indication that he was more than likely born blind. That it's like he wants to know what it's like to see. So like when you think about the application for you and I, in this one, where in your life have you lost your sight? Where have you lost the view that Jesus had for you and made a wrong turn? Can you see how Jesus might handle that a little bit differently? This guy knew what it was like to see. You know what it's like to follow Jesus. But something happened. And he's lost that ability. Where if you've never known something, you're going to have this desperation to see it. If you've never known love, you're going to crave it. If you've never known what a good paying job is, or if you've never known what it's like not to be homeless, you're going to crave those types of things. And that right off the bat is going to make Jesus, or it's going to make anybody treat people differently. Think about it this way. You have a 2-year-old with a screwdriver in his hand headed for a light socket. You're going to handle them gently, and then pull them away and turn it, and deflect their attention somewhere else. But if you have a 10-year-old with a screwdriver headed for a light socket, there's probably going to be some loud voices, and things like that. You're going to handle the situation differently. So even when you think about the people that you work with, your family, the people that you hang out with, depending on their belief level in Christ, that's going to dictate how you talk to them about things like this. There are all those little things right here that will actually change the way we respond. And another one to notice, too, is in Mark 8. The people brought him to Jesus. It just simply says some people brought him and begged Jesus to touch him. It doesn't say to heal him, it says to touch him. But in Bartimaeus' story, those people rebuked him. The people around him told him to shut up. They're like, what are you doing? Why would you do that type of a thing? So again, think about your own life. When have people carried you to Jesus? When have people pushed you away? Which one of these do you want to be? Do you want to be the one that pushes people away from Jesus, or do you want to bring them to him no matter what their belief is? This is kind of a choice that we have, because not only do these passages deal with the blind man, it also deals with the crowd. And it's something that we can miss if we read too quickly, and we can actually miss those types of things. But then again, think about that in your life. How does that play out in your world? Next one, with the first guy in Mark 8, Jesus took him away from the people. But in Mark 10, he healed him in front of the people. In fact, he had those people call him over. So, again, when you think about this, because you're going to have to look at both sides of this. When you look at the people, if they bring him to Jesus and Jesus heals him in front of them, they could very easily turn around and say, "See, you got your sight back because of us. Not because of Jesus, but because of us." So, in that aspect, it's necessary for Jesus to take him out of the city, because he doesn't want the blind man thinking that, and he doesn't want the people thinking that. So again, in your life, where are the times that you've seen Jesus actively work in somebody, but you were patting yourself on the back, um, because you're the one that brought them to Jesus? You know, is that what God calls us to do, or does God call us to bring people to Jesus and then step back and watch Jesus work and marvel at it? And then when you go to Mark 10, okay, you have people who have rebuked him. They've told him to shut up, and the word rebuke, in there, actually means to threaten physical force. Okay, so they didn't just tell him to shut up. They said, shut up, or we're going to make you shut up. They threatened physical violence, to this man, just because he's trying to talk to Jesus. So the first thing Jesus does is he says, you know what? All of you people who just told him to be quiet and to shut up because you're embarrassed, you call him to me. I'm not going to call him to me. You're going to undo what you just did. So, again, when you think about your own life, where has something like that happened to you? Where has somebody told you you just weren't good enough? But Jesus says, wait a minute, yes you are. Those are the moments that we need to cling to, and we need to just learn from them and just cherish them. Both of these stories have phenomenal aspects to them. And there are things that we can take for our own lives, and there are things that we can take when we deal with other people. And then here's the final point that I think a lot of people miss. That guy in Mark 8, he didn't believe. Because you can clearly see in that opening statement, in that whole opening thing, some people brought the blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. And then Jesus took him by the hand and led him outside the village. The man didn't speak until after Jesus tried to heal him. He never asked, for this type of healing. That's an indication that he didn't believe that Jesus was the Messiah. He didn't believe that he was going to be healed, or if he did get healed, he was just going to be a sideshow freak. But Bartimaeus believed. When he says, Jesus, Son of David, he's affirming that he believes in the core of his being that Jesus is the Messiah. And if he has any chance of being healed, it lies in the hands of that man. And one thing, it's like anytime I get to talk about Bartimaeus, there's a line in there that if you're one that likes to mark in your Bible, you need to underline this, highlight it, and put a big star beside it. But when it says many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, underline what Bartimaeus did. And it says there, but he shouted all the more. He basically said, you guys aren't going to ruin my chance to be healed, because I know that my redemption lies in that man. And Bartimaeus went, when it says the Bartimaeus followed him along the road, Bartimaeus is counted among the men at Pentecost. He's counted among the men who were there at the crucifixion. So that this one moment in his life completely changed it, and he followed Jesus the rest of the way. So, again, let's apply this in our own lives. Where are those moments that you didn't believe you were good enough? That you didn't believe you could be forgiven? You didn't believe you could be healed? You didn't believe you could let go of that addiction? You didn't believe that you could let go of that anger? Bartimaeus is showing you that there's always hope. There's always hope. And I think in this one, the reason that Jesus had to do it twice was because he didn't believe, but because there was some doubt, in there. It was like he could still see the shadows of his past. And, that hindered him in his way of accepting, the gift that Jesus was offering him. But with Bartimaeus, he's like, nope, my chance lies right here. So I guess what I'm really saying to you guys is, it doesn't matter what you've done, how long you've been away from Jesus. He's standing there with his arms wide open, saying, all you got to do is take one step my way. I'll take 99 yours. Just asking you to take one my way. And again, when you're dealing with other people, learn where they are in their relationship with Christ, because that will help you not to push too hard, but to be that gentle, that gentle friend. These types of scriptures will show you how to soften your speech. I can't tell you how many times in the past couple of months I've had to stop before I hit the send button, or stop before I speak something out loud. And these are two scriptures that come back to my mind, and it reminds me to meet people where they are. Don't force them to be where you are. Meet them where they are. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really have a lot of fun doing this. I hope you guys have a phenomenal weekend. And again, I look forward to seeing y'all on Sunday. Take care. Bye.